like that.
You saying there, in your experience in baseball, there was never a player that moved that needle
meaningfully enough that would cover their salary? Never once, and there's never been a player. And anyone who tells you otherwise, they're simply lying to you. But I'm about to give you the exception. Caitlin Clark with Unrivaled would be the example where she will bring with her a pot of money that otherwise would not be available to Unrivaled, and that would help inform me what I'd be willing to give her, which I assume is what they are willing to give her, which is going to be far greater than anyone else in the league. It will be more money overall comp than the co-founders. There will be an opportunity for more equity because it's measurable, because I bet that they've negotiated in a way with their partners that should they get this tornado of benefit, which is named Caitlin Clark, then what may be worth $1 today is worth $2 tomorrow, and they want to monetize that.
The Unrivaled commissioner just received the most devastating news imaginable. And let me tell you, panic doesn't even begin to describe what's happening behind closed doors right now. Caitlin Clark's army of fans just delivered another crushing, soul-destroying blow to this so-called revolutionary league. And this time, there's absolutely no coming back from it. We're talking about a rejection so overwhelming, so one-sided, that it's left executives scrambling, investors questioning everything, an entire future of women's basketball hanging in the balance. Picture this.
Timing of Unrivaled announcing this is all strategic. They could have announced this at literally any other time. They are doing it as a negotiation tactic. We have also heard from players that the WNBA does not want players to play in Unrivaled, and they don't want them to play in overseas leagues. I have been one who has said from the beginning, I just don't see how these two leagues coexist. I don't see how they coexist if both of them are successful. At the end of the day, Unrivaled is a competitor league to the WNBA. You don't see it in any other pro sports. Now, the WNBA is different because they have a shorter season. They haven't been able to pay the players so.
You've built what you think is the next big thing in sports. You've got celebrity investors, flashy logos, and a Miami venue that you're convinced will change everything. Then the biggest superstar in your sports history becomes available, and you think, this is it. This is our golden ticket. You offer her $1 million for just 8 weeks of work. That's more than 12 times what she makes in an entire WNBA season. Any rational person would think the fans would be jumping up and down, begging their hero to take the money and run. But here's where this story takes a turn that nobody in that Miami boardroom saw coming. The poll went live, and the question was simple. Should Caitlin Clark join Unrivaled? What happened next wasn't just a rejection. It was an absolute massacre. 78% said no. Not maybe, not let's think about it, but a resounding, earth-shattering no. Only 22% were willing to even consider watching their basketball goddess play for this upstart league. That's not just a bad poll result, folks. That's a complete and total annihilation of everything Unrivaled thought they.
In this case, though, the biggest fish, David, and it's not close, is of course Caitlin Clark. And that is not a statement, as we always have to caveat, about is she the number one best player in the league? That's an argument that many have had and will continue to have in the ways that we want to Mount Rushmore everything. But in terms of the draw, the biggest free agent, the biggest economic stimulus package that can be provided to a startup like this is obviously her, and she is not signed.
She's bigger than even Shohei Ohtani in terms of direct. My view is that in terms of direct relation to bottom line performance of a league, you get Caitlin Clark, you are able to go to banks and present financials that are way more base case than upside case. And your base case goes higher. You have more access to capital. Your sponsorship revenue goes up. Your media rights deal, I assume there's some sort of minimum guarantee and maybe an upside, maybe whatever deal that was negotiated. Having Caitlin Clark is an absolute.
Knew about their market. But here's the thing that makes this rejection even more brutal. This isn't the first time Caitlin Clark's fans have completely destroyed Unrivaled's dreams. Last year, when the league first started floating the idea of bringing her in, the exact same thing happened. Fans looked at this 3-on-3 league playing in dark Miami gyms with 800 people in the stands, and they said, absolutely not. The league thought maybe fans just needed time to warm up to the idea, Maybe they needed to see the product first. Well, they've seen it now, and the verdict is even worse than before. Let's talk about what Unrivaled actually is, because the marketing department has done everything possible to make it sound revolutionary when it's really just pick-up basketball with professional players. We're talking about 3-on-3 games in what looks like a high school gym, with camera angles that make you dizzy and lighting that makes you wonder if someone forgot to pay the electricity bill. They claim they're selling out with 800 fans. But when you watch the broadcast, you see maybe 40 people in the background looking like they'd rather be anywhere else on earth. The financial numbers should have made this a no-brainer. Caitlin Clark makes $78,000 a year playing for the Indiana Fever. That's less than what some people make managing a Target. Unrivaled offered her $1 million for 8 weeks of work. Do the math on that, and you're looking at more than 10 times her annual salary for a quarter of the work. Any agent in the world would tell their client to take that deal and laugh all the way to the bank. But Caitlin's fans took one look at that offer and said, "Keep your money." Why would they do that? Because they understand something that the suits in Miami completely missed. Caitlin Clark isn't just a basketball player. She's a phenomenon, a cultural force, a once-in-a-generation talent who has single-handedly transformed women's sports. She generates approximately $50 million in revenue every single year for whatever league she plays in. We're not just talking about ticket sales here. We're talking about television deals, merchandise sales, sponsorship agreements, and media coverage that didn't exist before she arrived on the scene. Her fans know exactly what she's worth, and they can smell desperation from a mile away. They see Unrivaled for what it really is. A group of investors trying to build their league on Caitlin's back without offering her anywhere close to her actual value. $1 million sounds like a lot of money until you realize she's worth 50 times that amount to any organization smart enough to secure her services. The fans have another major concern that goes way deeper than money, and it's something that should terrify every executive at Unrivaled. They don't want to see Caitlin playing alongside women who openly resent her success. The WNBA is already filled with players who roll their eyes every time she gets attention, who make snide comments about her popularity, and who...
Well, I don't want to watch her play with players that they can't stand her and that she's going to benefit their league. That's all she's doing in the WNBA is benefiting a bunch of haters and their league. Let's be real. She is women's basketball as a whole, right? So
think about it.
Act like her record-breaking performances are somehow taking something away from them. Unrivaled is run by these exact same players, which means Caitlin would essentially be walking into a locker room where half the owners can't stand her. Imagine being the biggest star in your sport and joining a league where your teammates and competitors literally own the organization and benefit directly from your success, while publicly acting like you don't deserve the attention you receive. That's not a recipe for success. That's a recipe for toxic workplace drama that would make reality television producers salivate. The production quality issues are impossible to ignore, and fans have noticed every single one. The broadcasts look like they're being filmed in someone's basement. The gyms are dark, the camera work is amateur, and the whole presentation screams low-budget operation trying to pretend it's professional sports. When you're used to watching Caitlin Clark sell out NBA arenas and generate...
There were some new announcements that just came out, and this news was announced on September 8th. So just 7 months after the conclusion of its inaugural season, Unrivaled said it has been valued at $340 million. Some of the biggest headlines throughout this entire season are the CBA negotiations. They wore the shirts at All-Star, pay us what you owe us. From what we have heard from so many players, because they've been very outspoken, they have given us a lot of information about these talks. Things are not going well. The league and the players still seem to be bumping heads and not able to come to an agreement on these CBA negotiations. Now, the deadline ends on October 31st. They can extend it, but you guys, it just gets really tricky. And I think the timing of Unrivaled announcing
television ratings that sometimes surpass men's basketball games. The idea of watching her play in what looks like a community center becomes almost insulting. Meanwhile, Unrivaled is out here announcing expansion teams like everything is going according to plan. They've just revealed 2 new franchises for 2026, The Breeze and The Hive. Cute names, fancy logos, and all the marketing materials you'd expect from a league trying to look legitimate. But here's the problem. You can't expand a fan base that doesn't exist. It's like opening new locations for a restaurant chain when the original location can't keep customers coming back. The television numbers tell the real story, and they're absolutely brutal for Unrivaled. When Caitlin Clark plays in the WNBA on ESPN, the ratings are massive. We're talking about numbers that make network executives do double takes and wonder if their measurement systems are broken. Without her, WNBA games barely register on the ratings charts. Unrivaled, meanwhile, pulls in maybe 150,000 viewers on a good night. To put that in perspective, Ice Cube's Big Three League, which features retired NBA players playing what amounts to pickup games, regularly draws 4 times that audience. Let that sink in for a moment. A league featuring players whose best days are decades behind them is absolutely destroying Unrivaled in the ratings game. These are guys playing for fun and nostalgia, and they're still more compelling television than what's supposed to be the future of women's professional basketball. The financial disparity between what Caitlin earns and what she's worth has become a rallying cry for her fans, and they're not about to let some upstart league take advantage of her either. She makes less than $80,000 a year while generating tens of millions in revenue for the WNBA. The fans see that injustice every single day, and they're absolutely furious about it. So when Unrivaled comes along offering what sounds like big money, but is actually pennies compared to her true value, the fans see right through it. This isn't about jealousy or gatekeeping. This is about respect, and Unrivaled's offer doesn't show nearly enough of it. The fans would rather see their hero continue being underpaid in a legitimate league playing real basketball than watch her prop up a gimmick league that's trying to build its entire identity around her star power. The WNBA just signed a $2.2 billion media rights deal, and everyone in the industry knows exactly who made that possible. It wasn't Angel Reese, despite all the hype. It wasn't Aya Wilson, despite her incredible talent. It wasn't Breanna Stewart, despite her championship pedigree. It was Caitlin Clark who convinced television networks that women's basketball was finally worth serious investment. Her drawing power, her ability to fill arenas, and her knack for generating must-see television moments are what opened those corporate checkbooks. Unrivaled can't even get 200,000 people to tune in on most nights, and TNT is basically doing them a favor by carrying their games. If they can't deliver an audience, the favor disappears faster than you can say contract termination. The fans have made it crystal clear that they're not going to provide that audience, which means Unrivaled is essentially dead in the water unless they can somehow convince Caitlin to change her mind. The commissioner's original strategy seemed foolproof on paper. Offer the biggest star in the sport more money than she's ever seen, get her fans to follow her to the new league, and watch the revenue pour in. Instead, the fan base looked at that offer and collectively decided it was insulting. They slammed the door so hard that you could hear it echo through every corporate boardroom in Miami. Now we're seeing desperate moves that reek of panic. New team announcements, expansion plans, and marketing campaigns that feel like someone frantically rearranging deck chairs while the ship goes down. The most telling part of this entire saga is what Caitlin herself hasn't said. She hasn't publicly trashed Unrivaled, hasn't mocked their business model, and hasn't engaged with any of the drama surrounding their pursuit of her services. She just keeps focusing on her WNBA career, keeps connecting with her fans, and lets her audience speak for her. That silence is more devastating than any press conference could ever be. It's the silence of someone who doesn't need to dignify a lowball offer with a response. It's the silence of a superstar who knows her worth and isn't about to settle for less. And it's the silence that's driving Unrivaled's executives absolutely crazy because they can't negotiate with someone who won't even come to the table. The bottom line is simple, and it should terrify everyone who invested money in this Miami experiment. Caitlin Clark's fans hold all the power in women's basketball right now, and they just use that power to deliver an unmistakable message. They want real basketball played in real arenas by players who respect their hero. They want the WNBA to properly compensate the woman who saved their league. And they absolutely, positively do not want to see her waste her prime years propping up a gimmick league that can't even fill a high school gymnasium. The panic is real. The desperation is showing. And unless something changes dramatically, Unrivaled is about to learn that you can't build a successful sports league without the fans of the biggest star in your sport. Caitlin Clark doesn't need them, but they absolutely need her, and her fans just reminded everyone exactly who holds the cards in this game.